Bethesda, Maryland is loved by some, but definitely not by all. Today we're talking about the 6 reasons why you should not be moving to Bethesda, Maryland. Let's get into it. All right, first up is the cost of living. I don't know if I want to use the word expensive. I don't know if that encapsulates just how costly it is to live here. For single family homes, the median price point for sold, you're looking at just over $1.4 million right now. Condos are $315,000 and townhouses are almost $1 million. But going to single family homes, that $1.4 million spans across all single family homes. So from your starter homes or your tear downs that are in the $700,000 to $1 million range, all the way up to your luxury properties. So what do you get usually for a single family home here? If it's under $1 million, honestly, it's either a fixer-upper or a tear down more than likely. You're not going to have just a big lavish compound. You're not going to have a big sprawling yard. You're more than likely going to have a small footprint and a fixer-upper. Now, if that's not for you, there are other areas. If you're a Maryland person, you want to be on the Maryland side of DC, you can look at Rockville if you want to have a more finished house, maybe 2-car garage. Potomac if you want to have more of a yard, and Silver Spring if you want to have more house, all for the same price point. But Bethesda, make no bones about it, it is an expensive area, especially for real estate. Now, when you look at general cost of living here too, it is 88% more expensive to live in Bethesda than it is the national average. Maryland is not a cheap place. It's 12% above the national average. So Bethesda is certainly leading the way. When you look at housing, it's 3.6 times the national average for housing, as we just discussed here. So cost of living is a big reason why not to live in Bethesda. Okay, getting to the second reason why not to move to Bethesda, it is taxes. Now, Bethesda, Maryland is a census-designated unincorporated place, which just means it's not a city. So you're not going to pay a city tax there, but it is part of Montgomery County, Maryland. So you will pay the Montgomery County income taxes there. The way Maryland works is it has its own rates for income taxes, and then counties on top, they charge whatever they charge for income taxes. Now, Montgomery County has the highest rate, which is at 3.2%, but they've been there for a while because they were always the leader in that, so much so that half the counties in the state practically have caught up to them. So I would expect that rate to go up, but just know that you're paying more on income tax to live in Bethesda than anywhere else in the state. Now, moving into the big one is real estate taxes. They recently, being the Montgomery County Council, raised property taxes by 4.7%. They were trying for 10%, but they didn't have the political capital for it. So property values are taxed 4.7% higher on their assessed value. Now, assessments, those are sticky because they're not exactly a perfect science with living in Bethesda or Montgomery County. You can appeal your assessed values, which I have helped other clients do in the past when they get a letter in the mail and say, oh, I would love for my house to be worth this much, but I know it's not worth this much. How do I do this? And I run comps for them and say, hey, I don't know, how they got to this number. I would love for your house to be worth this much as well, but it's not. And then inevitably, when they appeal it, they find out that it was comped on something that was the most expensive house in an adjacent neighborhood, nothing like their own. So you're going to have to watch out for the assessed values going up in the near future as well. And one that they sneak through on top of the increase of 4.7 for your property tax is the recordation tax, which is something buyers pay when they purchase a property in Bethesda. So what happened with this is now in Montgomery County, you are having a tiered system. It used to be a flat rate you pay for a recordation tax. That is no longer the case. Above $500,000, it's a tiered system in some brackets. So $500,000 to $600,000, so on and so forth, you will pay a different percentage the higher up your property value goes at your closing. So if you are a $1.5 million purchase, which is not unrealistic in Montgomery County, right? The median price point for recently closed is at 1.4, and the median price point for what's on the market as we're recording this video is above 2 million. So 1.5 million, if you're purchasing it, you are now paying $6,750 more than you were just a few weeks ago, because they snuck in that increase with the recordation tax that people weren't paying attention to because they were focused on the property tax rate. You're getting taxed higher in income, you're getting taxed higher on the property values, as well as when you purchase. And on top of it, retirement in Maryland is very expensive, which affects Bethesda since it's in Maryland. Maryland is the only state that taxes estates and inheritances. It is unique in that respect, and you are going to get closer to those thresholds in Bethesda where the real estate is valued higher than anywhere else in the state. So taxes are very high, very costly in Bethesda. Okay, getting to our third reason why not to move to Bethesda, Maryland is the schools. And before we talk about them, do me a favor, hit that like button for the algorithm. Now, the schools, they are highly ranked, no question about it. NIST.com has the 3 high schools that are in Bethesda ranked in the top 10 of all public high schools in Maryland. But They are in such demand that you are now seeing overcrowding at all 3 levels in Bethesda, elementary, middle, and high school. So much that you're seeing trailers, portables, whatever you want to call them, are being introduced to many schools because in some areas you've seen like a 50% increase in enrollment over the past 10 years. There's been articles in the Washington Post as well as a bunch of neighborhood PTAs all up in arms about this with the overcrowding. And Montgomery County is honestly a bit slow to respond to this. They're really good at doing studies and holding committee meetings, but they're very slow to respond. There is some relief. There is a new high school being built currently. It's called Woodward. Should be ready in 2026 without any further delays, and that will pull some kids from Bethesda to North Bethesda, or for me, Rockville. So you'll start to see some relief for that, but they're very slow to it. Now, on top of that, if you're in Bethesda, or in Montgomery County, I should say, you have an option specific to these schools for language lotteries. You've got full immersion for Spanish, full immersion for French, and partial immersion for Chinese. These are great programs if you can get your child into them. They're lottery-based, so pure luck of the draw to get in. And you're heavily favored on the kindergarten and first grade phase to get in. After that, it's very hard. Students have to come out, or you have to already speak the language at home in order to get some kind of advanced placement in those programs. But what's the negative for Bethesda? Well, the 7 schools that host these, which are K through 8, they're not in Bethesda. So if you're going to take your kid to one of these language programs, you're going to be driving them yourself or having some other arrangements made with buses, things like that. So your kid could be looking at, an hour commute to get to this school to learn a new language. So that is a big negative, especially if you're living in Bethesda and you are not taking your kid to a private school. All right, number 4 reason why not to move to Bethesda, and it is traffic. Now, traffic is not unique to Bethesda per se, right? The entire DC Metro traffic sucks here. But it is worse in Bethesda than other parts of Maryland. And why is that? Well, it's its placement. It is northwest of DC. It's right on the border. So if you're commuting anywhere else in Montgomery County, more than likely, and if you're driving through Bethesda, right? So you're going through the main thoroughfares there. You're clogging up some residential streets. You're clogging up the main roads. You're clogging up Wisconsin Avenue, like you're probably seeing here on video right now. It is kind of a slog. Now, there was some relief temporarily during COVID when everyone was working from home, but the reality is a lot of people are commuting again. The roads are under construction all the time. It is jam-packed during commuting time, just like it was before COVID again, right? You've got the heaviest days, Tuesday through Thursday, where most people who are going in the office go in. Monday and Fridays are a little bit lighter, but traffic really sucks, especially in Bethesda, with all of its little lanes, all of its little roadways in downtown Bethesda, especially as you get into DC. All right, and the next reason why not to move to Bethesda, especially Bethesda, is the speed and red light cameras. So we just talked about how much traffic sucks here. And hey, maybe you get a little excited. You want to go through that red light. Maybe you don't. Or you're going to go a little bit faster to make the light. Well, rest assured, there's a camera for you. So the state of Maryland has more cameras than virtually anywhere else in the country. Montgomery County has the highest concentration of them, and Bethesda has the highest concentration in Montgomery County. So much so, if you look at this chart with me here, there's not enough space to put all the cameras on this chart. And they even tell you in the key that some of them are on both sides of the road, so you can pretty much double this up. Now, what's going on with speed cameras and red light cameras? They are a huge revenue source. Tens of millions of dollars a year for Montgomery County, as well as Bethesda, which in turn gets some of that revenue. So much so that they keep increasing the amount year over year. So it's past, in my opinion, it's past the point of public safety. It's more of just a revenue generator for them. And Bethesda has been caught in the past several times shortening the time for a yellow light to less than what is allowed federally, as well as the state of Maryland. So under 3 seconds federally, under 3.5 seconds for the state of Maryland. And they've been caught with this to increase the amount of red light tickets they issue. Now, if you get caught with this, you can appeal it, sure. Are you? More than likely not. So they are making millions of dollars, and sometimes changing the rules in their favor, putting their thumb on the scale, so to speak, to get more ticket revenue out of you. So speed cameras, red light cameras, they're all over the place, but they are littered in Bethesda. Okay, and our 6th and final reason why not to move to Bethesda is beer and wine, and I'll explain in just a second. You make your way through this terrible traffic. You get past the red light and speed cameras trying to get you. You get to the grocery store. You're going to get some dinner for your family. Maybe I want to drink tonight. You go there? Sorry. They don't sell beer and wine at the grocery store. In fact, they don't sell them in most grocery stores unless it has a grandfathered license. Why is that? I'm not entirely sure. There has been legislation introduced to change this because more than likely you're going to have to go to a county-run store to buy your beer and wine. But that legislation is very slow. It's making its way through the lobbyist circuit in the state of Maryland before you can possibly get some relief to get it in all grocery stores. So after you leave the grocery store without beer and wine, you go to your county store to get your beer and wine, and then you pay your bag tax on the way out. Whether it's paper or plastic, there are equal opportunities when it comes to taxing in Bethesda. They're going to nickel and dime you, literally, it's 5 cents for each bag, on your way out the door. So beer and wine, final reason why not to move to Bethesda, Maryland. Now, if you made it to the end of this video and you still want to move to Bethesda, I have a video right here for you that shows you the top neighborhoods of Bethesda, shows you the inside of them, the makeup, what makes them special. And if you have any questions for me directly, my contact info is below as well. And until next time, I hope to see you around town.